Hello and welcome to a video I didn't think I'd be making. So this one is going to come with some real important prefaces. If you've been around the block the last few days, you might know that Game Freak was hacked by a malicious actor fishing to breach confidential materials. This has included doxing said employee, and I want to be upfront and say I do not support these actions because this kind of thing is life-ruining. And they are not just justified because we got some beta artwork and lore for Pokemon. That shit is fucked up, and we should collectively condemn these actions. That being said, the information is out there, and while I'm heavily interested in the never-before-designed aspects of this series, I'm not going to plaster 100 PNGs into this video and go, oh wow, oh cool, oh wow. Those are available online if you want to see them. What I do want to talk about, though, is the lore, however, because there is quite a lot of it. I do have to mention that since this material is unreleased, 99% of it is not canon and was never intended to be seen by the public. While the specifics aren't going to be touched on in any official material, I think it's interesting, especially for the 1% that was made official. Starting off was this image, which is dated August 1st, 2005, meaning this is a full year and 2 months before Diamond and Pearl released in Japan. This image depicts a stacked organization of the Pokemon world's hierarchy at the point of creation at this point in time. So obviously it's not going to contain anything for any Pokemon released after Diamond and Pearl, and it's clear even from this image that full details of Pokemon within Diamond and Pearl were still being worked on. This chart here lists the different hierarchies with the Creator God, being of time and the physical world, the beings of the heart and soul, balances of harmony, 9 foundational beings meant to oversee the above. Then we move on to the 3 creations, and each of them are given 3 servants under them, and then the unseen legends, or otherwise known as the mythicals. They all arrange into this shape, which might look familiar to some of you who've checked out the Sinjoh Ruin events for Heart Gold and Soul Silver. In these games, this event was unlocked by bringing an Arceus into these games. Since the West never got the Azure Flute to get the Arceus in the Hall of Origin officially, most people I know got this event from the Toys R Us Arceus that was distributed in 2009. This event brings the player to the Sinjoh Ruins, a place not specifically in either Sinnoh or Johto, but is a blend of both cultures built by ancient peoples from both regions. It is here at this temple we can observe an interesting relationship between Arceus and the Unknown, very mysterious Pokemon themselves who dominate the ruins of Alph. Now, here in the ruins is what's called the Mystery Stage, and if we have our Arceus with us, then the following happens. Now, hold on here. This is the exact same set of shapes in this design document, except there's one circle that's missing right here. This is because in the design document, Giratina has not yet been factored into the equation. Also of note, this shape is what is on the ground in the Hall of Origin in Legends Arceus, so it's clear that a large majority of these ideas have survived being past the designing stage. So with this, fine folks on Twitter made a good visual guide for what these shapes represent, so let's get into the thick of it. Starting at the origin point, we have Arceus, and from it we have the three circles around it for Dialga, Palkia, and the newly added Giratina, for the Guardians of Time, Space, and Antimatter respectively. Next we have Rayquaza, Kyogre, and Groudon for the Overlords of the Sky, Seas, and Land on the outer circle here from your main crew. Then for the inner triangle we have the Lake Spirits, Azelf, Uxie, and Mesprit. The middle circle here then denotes us the Guardians of each of those spaces of the inner circle, and the Guardian of the Skies being Dragonite, Tyranitar, and Gyarados, Guardians of the Seas being Latios, Latias, and Metagross, and Guardians of the Land were a bit more speculative given the Japanese translations aren't one-to-one with finished Pokemon that we have, but given what Pokemon have released officially and which ones follow the patterns of before, the decision was made for Garchomp, Cresselia, and Heatran. Finally, we have the outer triangle, which denotes the minor gods or legendaries in Ho-Oh, Lugia, and Regigigas, each with their denoted servants or underlings, Ho-Oh having the legendary beasts, Lugia's connection with the legendary birds, and Regigigas with the Hoenn golems. Then finally, the outer circle denoting Pokemon dubbed as Unseen Gods, or more traditionally and officially mythical Pokemon, what with Mew and Celebi and Jirachi and Deoxys, Shaman and Manaphy. Now, for the Generation 4 mythicals, here we're also using speculation based on unfinished game data and unfinalized code names, so again, liberties are being taken for what's officially come out. Next is a write-up of the origin of the universe. This document uses pre-release code names for the names of Pokemon we have officially names of now, so in this reading I will be replacing the code names with the names that we know for better understandability. If you were to find this document separate to this video, they will not have the actual names I'm using here for the Generation 4 Pokemon. Also of note, in these docs, Dialga and Palkia were originally deigned to be deities of light and darkness. Now obviously now in current time we know that it is time versus space, and darkness and antimatter being Giratina's spot. I'm not going to correct that fact here because outside of readability I want this to reflect the beliefs at the time of creation. In the beginning, there was a vortex of chaos, all mixed slowly together, and everything was a blur. One day, a large egg appeared in the center of the chaos. For a long time, the egg continued to shake. Eventually, the vortex stopped, and the egg broke. The absolute god, Arceus, was born. The scattered fragments of the egg transformed into giants and attacked the newly born Arceus. However, Arceus quickly grew and continuously defeated the giants. At last, after a fierce battle, Arceus defeated all of the giants. The wounded Arceus created an alternate self. As the left and right side of Arceus's body were different, it created two selves. Arceus gathered the body of the defeated giants and poured its blood into them. From the one who resembled his left poured out light, so Arceus named it Dialga, the god of light. From the one who resembled his right poured out darkness, so Arceus named it Palkia, the god of darkness. To the two, Arceus commanded that the world be filled with people, and fell into a deep slumber. Although Dialga and Palkia were different in appearance, they loved one another, were joined, and had many children. However, there still existed no world, and their frail children who had nowhere to go died one after the other. Overcome with great sadness, Dialga and Palkia thought of creating a world where all could live healthy and prosperous lives. Dialga and Palkia called their children Uxie, the god of the eyes, Mesprit, the god of heart, and Azelf, the god of voice. When Uxie opened its eyes, everything there appeared. There was now contour and color in the world. When Mesprit wished for it, everything that was there could be felt. A sense of calm spread. When Azelf shouted, everything that was there trembled. A blessed timbre began to resonate. To the three, Dialga and Palkia gave the seed of life and told them to nurture it. The three gathered in a circle and prayed, and the seed sprouted. The sprout quickly grew and became the giant tree of life. However, the tree continued to grow, soon filling the entire world, and no one was able to move. The three asked Father Dialga and Mother Palkia for help. Palkia and Dialga joined once again and had 3 children. The god of the sky, Rayquaza, the god of the earth, Groudon, and the god of the ocean, Kyogre, were born. Rayquaza wrapped its body around the Tree of Life. Groudon and Kyogre slammed their bodies into the Tree of Life. Eventually, the tree fell and broke into 3 pieces. Uxie, Mesprit, and Azelf prayed, saddened that the tree would rot away like this. Then, the pieces of the broken tree would transform into the sky, earth, and ocean. Rayquaza became the pillar that holds the sky, the shadow that reached into the heavens that became the 3 gods who would sustain the sky would be Dragonite, Gyarados, and Tyranitar. The air then filled the sky, and the stars sparkled. Groudon became the land that covers the earth. The roar of the diving land became the 3 gods who sustained the earth, Heatran, Cresselia, and Garchomp. The earth shook, and the mountains stirred. Kyogre became the veins of water that embraced the oceans, the ripples that disappeared into the seas, and became the 3 gods who would sustain the ocean, Latias, Metagross, and Latios. The ocean was filled with water, and the waves whispered. Thus, the world was born. Dialga, Palkia, and the various gods were very pleased with this, and filled the world with their children. That peaceful world was a paradise for the children of God. The children of God would continue to multiply. Through that, words would change little by little. Over time, the gods would begin to call those who lived in the world by 2 names. The children of God, who resembled the Great Father, Dialga, would be called Pokémon. The children of God, who resembled the Great Mother, Palkia, were called humans. The absolute god Arceus will soon awaken, and seeing the world filled with its descendants will promise great abundance and prosperity. Now, we're going to return back to as far as the information I would classify as official or has been made into official canon, obviously including Giratina in the process, but from this we can finally follow up on the theory that humans were originated from Pokemon in ancient history, and that plenty of prowess people have been able to accomplish is similar to that of the feats Pokemon themselves can accomplish. Now, we're going to be looking at information that is not canon, however, does get supported by canon material, and this is the part that has me the most frustrated, because Twitter's reaction to this information specifically has led to some of the most brain-dead discussion, which utterly proves that a portion of this fanbase just can't handle any sort of complexity or theme in their fiction, period. Anyway, the following passages are short vignettes that resemble vocally spread folklore, similar to that of traditional Japanese folklore. Lots of stories surrounding yokai and the like have roots in the series, and as we know as much from what is present in the Generation 4 games that we got, folklore and history is huge in these games. And while I very obviously can see why these specific folktales are not presented in the games, and agree they are definitely better suited in the ways that we did get the folklore, I think these are interesting from an anthropological sense in this world that can show its brightest days beside its darkest nights. With that said, the content of these stories is definitely tonally way more severe than anything that appears in the Pokemon series, so just a tone warning there, and there is content here that is similar to a lot of the dark matter that the games themselves do touch on, with like the genocide, with the violence that has been described by various aspects in the series, like the ultimate weapon, that kind of thing. This does go a level beyond that, with actual description of violent methods. So it is traditionally like folklore in that sense. So be prepared for that. In the distant past, when the boundary between Pokemon and humans was still blurred, there was a woman and her companions. Every day they were bored, so they would often catch Slackoth living in a nearby forest. They played cruel games with the captured Slackoth, sometimes killing them for fun, gouging out their eyes or cutting off their ears. One day, the woman was walking alone in the forest and saw Slackoth hanging from a tree. She climbed the tree to catch it, but slipped and injured herself. At that moment, a Vigoroth appeared. This Vigoroth had a torn ear. The woman, startled, tried to flee, but her injured leg hurt too much and she couldn't move. The Vigoroth with the torn ear suddenly attacked her when it saw her. The woman lost consciousness. When she awoke, she was in an unfamiliar place. Before her lay a clear lake, surrounded by trees, from which many Slakoth and Vigoroth were hanging. All of the Pokemon bore wounds somewhere on their bodies, marks left by the woman and her companions. Upon closer inspection, she noticed that some of the Slakoth hanging from the trees were corpses. They were the very Slakoth that the woman and her friends had killed and discarded. The Slakoth were throwing those corpses into the lake. Terrified, the woman tried to run away, but a Slaking appeared. This Slaking also had a torn ear. This woman realized that this was the same Vigoroth she had seen earlier, and fear overwhelmed her, causing her to faint once more. When the woman regained consciousness, she found herself at the entrance of the forest near her home, surrounded by her friends. They carried her back to her house. Some time later, the woman gave birth to a child, but it was not a human child. It was a Slakoth. She intended to abandon it, but couldn't bring herself to do so. She stopped meeting with her friends and decided to raise the Slakoth. One day, her friends, concerned about her, visited the area near her home. They found the Slakoth sleeping there, the child of the woman. As they always did, they caught the Slakoth, stabbed it in the chest, and killed it. It took its corpse and headed to the woman's house. When she saw the slain Slakoth, the woman was overwhelmed with sorrow. She grabbed the Slakoth's body and ran deep into the forest. Her friends, shocked, chased after her. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the surroundings suddenly opened up, and they found the same clear lake from before. Around the lake were many Slakoth and Vigoroth. The woman stood before the lake, holding the lifeless body of the Slakoth. She threw herself into the water. Afterwards, the woman's friends began to treat Slakoth as companions, just as she had in her final moments. There was a time when the boundary between Pokemon and humans was blurred. In a coastal village, there was a man. One day, as he was walking along the shore, he found a female octillery washed up on the beach. The man had relations with the octillery and then threw it back into the sea. The next day, he came to the same spot and found the same octillery again. He once had more relations with it and threw it back into the sea as before. One night, after several days had passed, the man had a dream. In the dream, the octillery spoke to him. "I cannot come to you, but I will deliver our child to you. It is our child, yours and mine." The next morning, the man went to the place where he had met the octillery. There, he found a boy. The man took the boy home and raised him. Time passed. The boy grew into a young man, and the father passed away. The young man was always lonely. One day, as the young man was walking along the shore, he saw a group of people playing in the distance. They all held very large swords in their hands as they danced. The young man approached the people, and as he got closer, he saw that Sharpedo were playing along the beach. When he tried to get even closer, the Sharpedo suddenly leapt into the sea all at once. However, one of the Sharpedo lingered, looking around 3 times before swimming away. At the spot where the Sharpedo had been playing, there was a large sword lying in the ground. It was a shape he had never seen before. It was very sharp and pointed. The young man took the sword home. The next day, the young man took the sword and went into the forest. While walking through the forest, he encountered an Ursaring. He tried slashing at the Ursaring's mouth with the sword, and the mouth was easily severed. Next, he stabbed at the Ursaring's eyes, and they were easily pierced. Finally, the young man thrust the sword into the Ursaring's chest, and the Ursaring died effortlessly. That day, the young man killed 30 Ursaring. After that, he was always carried the sword with him, playing by injuring the Pokemon he encountered or cutting off parts of their bodies. One autumn, while the young man was searching for firewood, he lost his way. After walking for a while, he stumbled upon an Ursaring's den. Inside, there was an elderly Ursaring lying down. The elderly Ursaring looked at the young man and said, "Come inside." The young man hesitated, but as it was getting dark outside, he entered the den. Before long, people began to enter the den, one after another, filling the room completely. Looking closer, he saw that all the people had scarred faces. Some were missing their eyes. They were chatting amongst themselves. but the young man ignored them and fell asleep. At one point, he woke up to find the elderly Ursaring lying beside him. He fell asleep again. When he awoke once more, there were many people around, talking about something. Again, the young man ignored them and went back to sleep. When spring arrived, the elderly Ursaring spoke. "Do you want to go home? Then I shall send you home. When you return, a whale ord will be soon found near the village. Go there. We will send a man. You must leave the sword behind and bring a witness. Why did you do such things, cutting faces and slicing off noses?" The elderly Ursaring escorted the young man back to the village. Upon his return, the young man recounted everything that had happened to the villagers. The following morning, the young man took some villagers with him and headed to the shore. As they walked along the coast, they found a large whale ord. Nearby, on the beach, was a teddy ursa. When it noticed the young man, the teddy ursa hid in the forest, and a large Ursaring came out in its place. As the Ursaring charged at him, the young man tried to draw the sword he had hidden, but it got stuck, and he couldn't pull it out. So he rushed at the Ursaring with his bare hands. The young man and the Ursaring grappled, punching each other's faces. They strangled each other with all of their strength, and so they choked each other to death, collapsing on top of one another. The villagers went back and told the others what they'd seen. In places where there are rules and order, and these things are valued, only important people are allowed to capture a Sharpedo. Even when captured, Sharpedo are treated with care, brought back to the land, their fins cut and sold at a high price, and every part of the fish is eaten. Even the bones are treated carefully, respectfully, and with love. In such places, the lives of many Sharpedo are not lost unnecessarily, and valuable things are treated as valuable. In the current capitalist world, which lacks rules and order, people on massive ships capture more Sharpedo than needed, cutting off their fins and throwing them back into the sea while alive. This way, they procure them in large quantities and sell them cheaply. This is meritocracy. What's wrong with the strong killing the weak? The former represents many places and values in the Pokemon world. This time, however, Team Galactic holds the latter worldview. In other words, they represent the excessive and extreme aspects of the real world. In the past, when the boundary between humans and Pokemon were blurred, there was a grassy plain and a large lake at the foot of a mountain. Two men lived on the west and east sides of the lake. The two men lived by hunting Pokemon. The man lived in the west was not particularly skilled, but he strictly followed the hunting rules. The man living in the east was a skilled hunter, but often neglected these rules. One day, the man from the west went out to hunt and saw a Rapidash on the plain. Its lush mane shone beautifully in the sunlight, as the man from the west readied his bow. The Rapidash then spoke. "We have children now. If I die, there will be none left of us in this plain." The man from the west lowered his bow and said, "Then I will not kill you. However, I desire your beautiful mane, so I ask you to become my wife." The Rapidash became the wife of the man from the west. After about 2 months, when Ponyta began to appear on the plains, the man from the west was riding on the back of his wife, the Rapidash, running across the plain. Eventually, they reached a place where many Rapidash and Ponyta were resting. The wife said, "They are my husbands. If you need, you may hunt them. If you treat them with care, they will not die. However, do not kill the female Rapidash or the Ponyta. The female Rapidash are my sisters, and the Ponyta are my children. That means the female Rapidash are your sisters-in-law, and the Ponyta are like your children." A few days later, the man from the east went out hunting. When he reached the plains, he found a Ponyta. He immediately shot an arrow and killed it. As he continued looking for more prey, he encountered a Rapidash. It was a female Rapidash. The Rapidash tried to say something, but the man from the east ignored it and shot his arrow. He then cut off the mane of the Rapidash he'd killed, and, proud of the beautiful mane, decided to show it off to the man from the west. He wrapped the mane around his head and headed home. Eventually, tired of walking, the man from the east decided to rest under a large tree by the lake. As the man from the west and his wife, the Rapidash, walked along by the lake shore, they saw a glimpse of the Rapidash's mane under the shadow of the big tree. "He is male. He has no children, so if you need, you may hunt him, said the wife. With that, the man shot an arrow at the Rapidash. When he approached the prey, he found the man from the east lying there, wrapped in the Rapidash's mane. Take this mane back with you, and when you hunt Rapidash, follow the rules I have told you. With those words, the Rapidash said farewell to the man from the west, and returned to the plains. Long ago, when the boundary between Pokemon and humans was unclear, there was a village somewhere. One day, a girl from that village went into the mountains to gather firewood. She found well-dried deadwood deep in the forest, so she kept going further in. Before she realized it, the sun was setting, and she had lost her way. Around her, there were droppings from a Typhlosion, which made the girl anxious. Just then, a man appeared from the other side of the forest. His face didn't resemble anyone from the village, but he was very handsome. The man said, "You must be lost, right? I know the way down the mountain, but with your pace, it would be midnight before we get there. I'll take you back tomorrow morning, so why don't you rest my place tonight?" The girl had no choice but to agree to the man's suggestion. The man took her hand and began to walk. As evening fell, they arrived at a large cave. "This is my home. You must be hungry, right? Wait here." Saying that, the man went outside the cave. After he left, a red light shone from far away in the mountains, and there was a sound of trees swaying. Before long, the man returned, carrying many red berries. He said, "Eat this, then let's sleep for the night. Even if you wake up before I do, don't look at my face." The next morning, when the girl woke up, the man was still asleep. She honored their promise and stayed lying down, waiting. Before long, she fell back asleep. She was awakened by the man's voice. When she looked outside, the sun was already setting. "Today, we'll eat green berries. Wait here." With that, he went out of the cave. After he left, the same red light shone from far away. The sound of trees swaying echoed once more. By the time the sun had set completely, the man returned, carrying many green berries. He said, "Eat this, then let's sleep for the night. Even if you wake up before I do, don't look at my face." The girl expressed her concern that her family would be worried about her, and that she wanted to go home soon. The man yawned widely and tapped her on the head. At that moment, she completely forgot about her family and home. The two of them ate the green berries together, and then fell asleep. The same routine continued, with them waking up and the sun had set, the man going out to gather berries, the two of them eating and sleeping together. Eventually, the girl realized the man was a Typhlosion. As winter approached, the Typhlosion dug deeper into the cave and said to the girl, "Go and gather wood for firewood. Break off branches from the higher parts of tall trees." The girl tried to do as the Typhlosion instructed, but the tall trees scared her, so she could only climb at the shorter ones. When she brought back some branches, the Typhlosion said, "That won't do. If it's not from higher branches, humans will find us." When the snow began to fall, the two of them lived in the depths of the cave, mostly sleeping. There was plenty of food. Occasionally they would wake up, eat, and then go back to sleep. One day when she awoke, the girl was holding a child. After several days and nights passed, the Typhlosion said, "Your father is looking for you, but you were my wife, so I can't return you. I will have to fight him." The girl pleaded, "Please don't do that. Don't kill my father. How can I live with you if you kill my family? You're a good person, so please stay here with me and sleep." "All right, let's stay here and sleep." The man nodded. The next night, the Typhlosion woke the girl and said, "Your father is close by. Go and see." When the girl went outside, a snowstorm was raging. She climbed a low tree and broke off a branch. When she returned to the cave, the Typhlosion was singing a song she had never heard before. "You broke off a branch, didn't you? Soon your father will come here. I'm going to do something bad to your father. If I am killed, take my eyes, my voice, and my heart, build a fire at the spot where I was killed, and burn them. And while they burn, sing this song until the fire goes out." The girl said, "Please don't do it. Don't kill my father. If anyone is to be killed, let it be you." "Goodbye. We will never meet again." With those words, the Typhlosion went outside. After a while, there was a loud noise, and when the girl looked outside, she saw her father had killed the Typhlosion. She rushed out and said to her father, Father, you have killed my husband. I have been living with him all this time. He was my husband. Please give me my husband. The Typhlosion's eyes, voice, and heart. The girl built a fire at the place where the Typhlosion had been killed and put his eyes, voice, and heart into the flames. She sang the song the Typhlosion had taught her until the fire burned out. The girl's father built a small hut on the edge of the village for the girl and her child to live in. Eventually, spring arrived. The young men of the village often teased and tormented the girl and her child. It became worse over time. One day, they tried to drape a Typhlosion's pelt over them. The girl returned home and pleaded with her parents. Please tell the villagers to stop teasing us. If they put that pelt on us, we will surely become Typhlosion. We are already half Typhlosion as it is. Despite the parents' pleas, the villagers did not listen. In fact, they found it even more amusing, and eventually draped the Typhlosion pelt over the girl and her child. At that moment, they howled loudly and vanished into the depths of the forest. The two were never seen again. And so, people came to understand, Typhlosion are half human beings. And that's all we have at the current moment. It's definitely possible we see more come out, and I may make another video talking about more interesting finds as it relates to lore. But I'm going to leave the rest of that for now. I really found these stories interesting. Obviously, the content is definitely a lot more graphic than we would see in the normal games, but in a lot of ways, the ways that we have folklore established in the games as we see them now, I can totally believe that these exist in universe as folklore, similar to how we, as humans, culturally have all kinds of different mythologies for different folklores, for different cultures, that do mirror a lot of the level of violence or level of sex or level of things that would be considered taboo if people today, in this day and age, were doing it. Very obviously, nobody related to the creation of these myths, A, intended anybody else to see this publicly, B, intended to put this actually in the games. I think the ways that we've gotten these folklores in the games is better suited to Pokemon's style. But C, I've been seeing the very, very dead brain take that because of these passages, that Game Freak is full of Gooner fetishists who are imposing their various kinks into Pokemon story fanfiction, which is such a disingenuous take. I don't even know how to begin dissecting it. I really feel bad for these people when they have to, if they ever encounter legitimate mythology in our real culture, that'll throw them for a loop. I'm not going to have a whole video debunking arguments. It's just if you have someone having that level of an argument, don't even bother it with an explanation. It's not an argument you're going into with good faith. It's, if anything, it says more about the person than themselves. That's it for the stuff that I wanted to cover here. I hope this can be seen by people who enjoy the lore and the story. And obviously, the most important lesson out of everything is the method in which this material was obtained is A, illegal, B, very morally bankrupt, especially when it concerns the real lives of people. I'm not in a position of power or authority in order to fix that. So my thing here is I talk about lore, and Pokemon tends to be one of the topics I talk about, so that's what I'm here doing. But don't give clout to the leaker who did this, because they did it for attention. And since the information is out there and that's not being pulled away, yeah, I'm working on some stuff in the background. I have my Trails recaps that I'm building deeper into, so that'll be probably coming out soon, and then eventually I want to return to Xeno. So check you guys next time.